Well, we are here again on another beautiful Sunday afternoon, and we're here to talk about stewardship. And you know, when I think of stewardship, I often think of it as recognizing, first of all, recognizing the abundance we have, the abundance that we have been given by God, but then also the next step of trying to figure out how we use that abundance to help and benefit others. And there have been a couple different ministries, one that's been going on for quite some time, and the other one that's still a little fairly new. But these two ministries have been ways in which members of our church have been trying to take what we experience in here out into the community. Those two ministries in particular are Fish and Loaves is one of them, and that one's been going on for I think a little bit longer. And then the other one is a newer ministry that's really beginning to take off, and that's Severe Weather Network. So both of those ministries are ones that you know, really are a part of the community that we have found a way to take part in. And really, Diane Duncan has been one of those who has coordinated and worked with those two ministries, perhaps more than anyone else in the church, to bring people together. But the way in which this congregation has then responded through donations, through bringing food to Fish and Loaves and all of that, has been pretty amazing. So I just wanted to have a little conversation during this time of stewardship when we're looking at ways that we can give to the church, to talk to Diane and find out, first of all, how did you get involved with Fish and Loaves, and what is it that you find so important about this ministry?
Well, first of all, thank you, Scott, for the opportunity. Really, I got involved with this ministry when I was on staff here at the church, because my office faced Grand River. Mm-hmm. And I saw that there were a number of people that were homeless that were walking by the window throughout the wintertime and so forth. And I thought, how can we reach out to them? And I knew that the Fish and Loaves program was going on. It's a program that's been part of our community for a number of years. But the reason that our church was not involved was because of the access to the lower level and the fact that we did not have a commercial grade kitchen. Mm-hmm. So when the old sanctuary hall was renovated, I actually contacted the health department to see, is there a way that we can bring food, prepare food off-site and bring it to the church now that we have access to a beautiful new facility here. So I talked to the health department, they came out to visit, they looked at the fellowship hall that we have and our kitchen, said, well, you can't cook here because it's not commercial grade, but you can bring the food in. Okay. And so I presented this back to session and said, we now can do this. Is this an opportunity and a mission that we want to get involved with? And I had the support of the church, and we started, actually, we will be, I believe, our 7th year in January. Wow,
that's great. So I knew it was a couple years before I got here, so I've been here 5, so it's been going 7. And how many people, I know it's different now because of COVID. We used to meet there in the Nosh, but now we do drive-bys and we give people food. How many people, though, on a normal week would we engage? How many volunteers are a part of this program?
So in a congregate meal setting, we typically have about 15 to 20 volunteers that help. Okay. We serve on average 65 people, whether it's a drive-through or it's a congregate. But what we do is we prepare 2 meals. So we're really cooking for 110 to 130. Additionally, what we've just added recently is we now cook for our own family members here at First Presbyterian that are homebound. So we've added that in over the last 3 meals, and so it's worked out great.
So folks that are at home and they can't get out, then we're bringing them food, kind of like a Meals on Wheels sort of thing in a way.
Yes, so we partner with the visitation team.
Great.
And they put the list together for us. Yeah. They let me know how many meals we need, and we're prepared for them. Great,
that's great. I mean, it really is a fun ministry, and you know, just to experience the folks and see them. You know, we really, even though they're not members of our church, we really get to know them, and so that's great. Now, Severe Weather Network. I know this was one that was just kind of get started when I got here, and then they ran into some glitches because not everybody wants persons that are experiencing homelessness right in their neighborhood, and yet we've had to work through some of those things. So tell me about how you got involved in that ministry.
Okay, so again, that ministry came from just seeing the few homeless people that we do see visually in the community, and we've had these homeless people here for a number of years. So back in 2009, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Our church was part of the REACH program,
Right,
which was
right.
a Salvation Army program,
Right.
and it was a shelter that was a transitional shelter. Every 2 weeks, one church would house the guest, other church would volunteer.
Right.
Our church was the volunteer church. We prepared meals, we provided transportation, and so forth. I was very involved with that. Then that program went away. So for 2 years, our county did not have a homeless shelter during the wintertime because the
Right.
funding ran out
Right.
in October. So from October to when the funding was back in place with Olsa and the Salvation Army, our guests, or the homeless people in our community, did not have a place to live or
Right.
a place to stay. The churches got together then.
Mm-hmm.
Olsa, the Salvation Army, and then 4 churches sat down around a table and we brainstormed, and we basically brought back a transitional shelter, which was called the Severe Weather Network.
Great.
People wonder about the name. The name came from a Love Inc. national
Oh, okay.
program that is actually running out in Boulder, Colorado, called the
Okay.
Severe Weather Network. So we modeled that program here.
Right.
And then back in 2018, we became a nonprofit. We were able to get a little additional funding, and at that point, we decided to lease a permanent building.
Right.
And so that's where and why we reside at Chilson
Yeah.
Hills now.
You know, it's just it's great because I know that when people think of Livingston County, they don't think of it being a place where there are homeless, and yet we know that there are. We know we've had one person living in our parking lot for a while who didn't have a place and was living out of his car. But one of the things that I think is interesting is, you know, when we are in worship and we hear things in worship and you know, we hear great things about things that Jesus did, but a lot of times that's where it stays. And so it is wonderful to see these examples of ministry that are, again, bringing in here, out there. And, you know, I just think the work you're doing is wonderful. And what else do we need to know? Because we are a church that are trying to figure out ways of responding more effectively. So what is it that, just like one thing that we need to know going forward?
Well, I think the one thing that everyone at this church needs to know is, for those who have been involved in this, you know, this has been a team effort the entire time. This isn't something that just one person coordinates and does on their own. This has always been a team effort. This church, our volunteers, our family members, they've been behind us, and it's because of them that we're able to continue these missions, the Fish and Loaves Meal, the Severe Weather Network, and other things. Our church has always done a really excellent job of preaching God's word and the meaning of discipleship. Pastor Dan did it, you do it, and that's what God's asked of us. He's given us these spiritual gifts and talents to share out here with the community, and that's exactly what has happened here over, well, the entire time that we've been members here. We've seen it and witnessed it. So, so we just encourage people to get involved. If you're not involved, come out and be involved. As I've said many, many times, no one has ever volunteered for either one of these programs and walked away saying, I'm never going to do that again. No, they walk away asking, when can I sign up to come back?
For sure.
And that's a beautiful thing. It speaks for itself.
You see, that's the thing. This is what stewardship is about. We think of stewardship simply as being, you know, making pledges to the church so it can go into the church budget, and that's a huge piece. I mean, that is something that we need to do because we want to keep this thing up. But this is stewardship as well. Stewardship is not just the thing that happens in the fall to make sure we have a budget. Stewardship is always about ways in which we recognize our abundance and then find a way to take that abundance out into the community. So thanks for your ministry, and keep finding ways that you all can give back from your abundance into the community.